Jen is ready. We will call the meeting to order. Jen, do you roll?
Commissioner Dilzer? Commissioner Erickson?
Here.
Commissioner Waldner?
Here.
Commissioner Abraham?
Here.
Mayor Lindsay?
Here. You have also attached the February 27th minutes. Are there any additions or corrections?
I'll move to approve the minutes of February 27th. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have before you the agenda for the tonight's meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Appearances, acknowledgements, and correspondence. Seeing Shirley Ebsen here. Shirley, would you want to step up to the mic and
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm here tonight to speak to the city commission about the adjustments that the equalization office has made regarding the assessed values within the city of Madison. I'm just gonna give you a real quick, brief overview of kind of how this process comes together, and then we'll get into what we did and why we did it. Each year, our fiscal year starts November 1st and runs until the next October 31st of the following year. So the adjustments made to the assessment rolls are always analyzed on a one-year basis. We go from November 1st, 2012, and we cut off October 31st, 2013, and this is the ratio period that is sent to the Department of Revenue that our audits and our compliances and our rules of ratio and all those determinations are made from. And what it is to see how close are your current assessments into your current sales. Just to back up for one moment and talk about how that comes into play when you pay your taxes. Taxes that were paid in 2013, people were paying on 91.3% of what their assessment was. And that's because our ratio of sales to assessments countywide, we were in a better proximity. The tax bills that went out in January 2014, we are now paying at 100% of your assessed value on any non-ag in the whole county. That would be houses in town, houses on farm places, houses at the lake, any property that's not considered ag. And the reason that jump took place is because as we try to raise values and keep in chase with where the sales are at, the last 18 months, we have had some very substantial recovery in the housing market, and we've had some great sales, and we've had a stable economy here in Madison, and the sales of houses and properties countywide, but also within the city, have taken off. So we're seeing more disparity between where our assessments are at and where our sales are coming in. Last year, we put on a brand new cost table, started with the city of Madison, to try to recoup some of these losses, try to bring things into balance as to where things are at. But then this year, again, we're still lagging, so we decided let's look at the land values. There's two components when property sells, land and structures. And you have to come up with a reasonable value to apply to the land and the structure when you just have one sale price. So in using that process, we decided that we needed to also address values of land within the city to try to keep the city within compliance. So even though the factor went up, we still need to keep moving our assessments in that direction, or the Department of Revenue will send letters out to the taxing entities and explain to them that their local effort, their local valuations are not high enough, and then I will get some deficiency reports sent back to the county on our efforts within our job, and we all want to try to do the best job we can and try to move the efforts in the direction that the sales indicate that they are going. Because we're talking about land, we're just going to talk a little bit about farmland. In the city, there is farmland within the city limits. You've got some north of 11th Street, between 11th and 15th, there's a strip of farmland that lays within the city limits. You've got some ag land that's out in your industrial park. And each year, since we went to this productivity system, farmland has been increasing based on its productivity ratios that are sent to the county. This year, countywide, it includes the city of Madison, the farmland that has been determined to be cropland, and that's a determination of the soil type, what the soil can produce. Better soils are crop-rated soils, poorer soils are grass-rated soils. The crop-rated soils went up 15% this year, the grass-rated soils went up 25%. And those farm values for those have been going up every year for, since we went into productivity, and prior to that, we were going up based on the market values of property. So because you have some cropland within your town, that's what we're doing with those soils that are rated as ag land within the city limits. We did put the cost table on for houses. We're rolling that out throughout the whole county. We did Chester and Wentworth and Lakeview townships this year. There are bigger townships that are where we have the most activity, the most sales, and probably where we're seeing the most disparity in our sales, because they have lakes in those counties. We are farther behind on some of those sales in the lake areas, so as we're moving out our cost tables, those are the townships that we incorporated this year. Now we're gonna get to the lands values and the land sales within the city of Madison. We have not done a major review and correction or adjustment, or alignment, I should say, compared to the sales since the early 1990s. If you look at your land values in Madison, most of the land values have been the same for over 20 years. We've always tried to chase it with adjusting the house costs, but I think we now need to look at the other component in the sale, and that would be the land. And we made a lot of adjustments in the residential area. In the residential area, most of your land is valued on a front foot. Maybe it's $130 a front foot, maybe it's $150 a front foot, maybe it's $95, depending on where you're at, and depending on what the sales history in those neighborhoods have indicated. Most of our sales, or most of our adjustments on front footages were about $10 a front foot. So if you used to be at $130 a front foot, you're now at $140. If you used to be at $150, you're now at $160. And we started out with making those smaller types of adjustments, and we're gonna back up and see where the sales come in. I know it's been a long time, but we're not making changes just because it's been a long time. We're making changes because the sales indicate there's disparity going on there. There are two areas within the town that I feel the adjustments were maybe more major. There was more of an adjustment made. Those were areas that have properties that were lots in the floodplain. And we found out that as we went across town, we had a lot of properties that were $5 a front foot, $100 for this lot, $200 for this lot, and I really was trying to wrap my mind, well, how did you calculate this? If the house next door is at $140 a front foot, and then here comes a lot, and maybe it was part of the city buyout, and now we have $100 on it, it wasn't encompassing what I felt was the correct value. Now, having said that, we understand that they are in the floodplain, and there are probably limits and restrictions about what can be used with them in the floodplain, and we tried to keep that in mind. But we saw many of those properties going from, maybe they were at $200, and then we put like $2,000 or $3,000 by using a front foot adjustment and a discount for being in the floodplain, and then a limitation factor, because we know many of these probably will never be able to have residential properties built on them. But yet, sometimes maybe a garage, depending on elevation, and certainly, you have more just expanded area of yard space that you can use, and elbow room to be within town. So the floodplain area was probably one of the places that we saw a larger adjustment being made in trying to bring equality and fairness, and looking at what properties have been selling for. The other method that was being used to value properties in town is we found that there was a handful of properties that were being valued on a per acre basis. And the numbers that were being used to generate those values were probably back from a time when some of these properties, before they were annexed into the city. And you get out like on the west side of town, we had a handful of houses out there that were established. They were annexed into the city back in the late 80s. Those houses that were there were in at so much per acre. And now we have new houses going in and they're on a per front foot basis. And as you compare this size of land to this lot and what it's selling for, it was not showing that there was going to be equality in the way we were valuing those. So we're trying to get away from per acre values in town, and as we looked at those, we found some that had $1,000 per acre on them, and we were just visiting before the meeting started. It's been a long time since land was $1,000 an acre. So we're trying to bring those properties that have a very different method of being valued in consistency with the rest of what the neighborhood and what the streets indicate up and down the street of what's going on. Like I said, we don't just change it because it's been a long time, but we're trying to review the sales that have happened so that we stay in compliance with where our rules and regulations that we are audited, as they are imposed upon us. We did mail out the assessment notices on Friday, and we've had some calls and some visits with people about changes that were made. And before we're all done with this, I know Jennifer is going to get some numbers and some values from the county, but I'm just going to bring to the commission at this time, based on the assessments that were mailed out, the city of Madison for 2014 had a valuation of over $245 million. And you were at $240 million last year. So we've had an increase in value of $5,605,000 to the city. Some of that is from the land changes that we made, but we also had growth. And growth is when we have new buildings and new construction or new subdivisions or new plats, something that wasn't there last year, but it's there this year. And that growth was $4,211,000. So congratulations to the city for its prosperity. And there was a lot of growth in the city that is not going to fall on the tax rolls. We had a wonderful addition to the new school. That's not going to be in the assessment rolls anywhere, but yet it's a big add to the community. It's a big bonus to the city. It's a big attraction. We've got a hospital that's going to be coming online. Those are not accessible properties, but yet they're going to be enhancements to our area. They're going to be a benefit to our economy. So, if we could put a handle on those things too, we would really have a much better barometer of the economy of the city. And to me, it looks like we are moving in the right direction, and I'm very happy for it and all the leadership that you guys have given.
Shirley?
Yes.
The two, or some of the big things that are still under construction, are they valued in now, or will they be next year?
Okay, when we're talking about brand new construction, and I'm glad you brought that up, I'll explain. When a commercial property, whether it's a remodel or whether it's new construction, when that value that we add, not cost of construction, is over $30,000, it's kind of an economic incentive. The very first year that project is done, let's just use, for example, the new John Deere dealership that came online a couple of years ago. When that project was completed, the first year when they were assessed, we sent them, here's your total valuation, but on the structure part, on the new part, you're only going to be taxing on 20% of that. Then the next year it goes to 40, then it goes to 60, then it goes to 80. So as new projects come online that are taxable, they get an economic incentive by where we only place the value of the structure. The land is still at 100%, but that new building comes on in small increments of 20% per year. It confuses people sometimes because I get these calls, my gosh, my taxes are going up every year, I'm not gonna be able to afford this if you keep this up. And I say, wait, you're just about to the end of your, and then it'll stable off. But it makes people nervous when they see those big jumps in their taxes every year.
But the two big projects that are ongoing now that will be taxable aren't in this number.
You're talking about like the big new addition that's going on out in the industrial park?
Right.
There is a portion of that building.
Okay.
November 1st, we go around and we try to figure out what projects are and what percentage of completion. The big construction project going on out, that wasn't done yet, still isn't done today, but we did put a value on the portion that was there.
Okay.
And you had several other projects around town. I think there was a lawn care service that had a portion of their building done, but it wasn't 100% finished. And those are included, but they're not done yet.
Okay.
So, any other questions or concerns for?
Just a quick question on some of those floodplain lots that you were talking about. Are most of those owned by the city or private?
These would be private, because
All
the
private.
greenway that's owned
Okay.
by the city is outside of our assessment.
Okay.
These would be, some of the lots were bought through the FEMA buyout, and
Yep.
some of them, it's just people have owned this piece right beside my house, and it's had the creek through it, or it's been a greenway project, and I do believe that they are not as valuable as properties that are developed or improved, or the properties that are outside of the floodplain. But I think the value that was on there was really not reflecting of today's market.
Okay.
If you have people call you with questions or concerns, please feel free to call our office. We would love to give you some detail about how it was calculated, how it is calculated. If you have appeals come before you, I think you'll make logical and rational decisions. And if my value didn't appear to be right, we can come up with a value that is, and I can listen to your guidance and direction. And I think we can make this a very easy process for people. It's not meant to be intimidating or to keep people afraid from coming in, but very, very relaxed and very grassroots and very open. Anything else for me?
Well, and then the other thing too, that people need to keep in mind too, and correct me if I'm wrong, just because the property value went up 25% on the land or whatever, doesn't mean that their taxes are gonna go up 25%, because the taxes are adjusted by mill levy, and that's to meet the budgets of the entities and that receive funding from the taxes.
Well, and on one of my notes here, the mill levies within the city of Madison did decrease
Mhm.
from 2013 taxes collected to 2014. Part of that might be because of that 9% increase we saw in the taxable factor. When we went from taxing people at 91% of your value to 100%, you were able to recapture that, which means your mill levies then can be adjusted. So you're right, the mill levies went down, but the percentage of your value that you pay taxes on went up. So one helps offset the other.
Pays to be vigilant on the evaluation of your property, but the bottom line is that your governmental entities, school boards, counties, and cities are who spend your money. Just because there's food in the refrigerator doesn't mean you have to eat it all at once.
Well,
So,
and much like you, we try to do this in a reasonable and fair and equitable approach, and I know that's exactly how the other side of the table, city commissioners, county commissioners are also doing the
Sure.
same due diligence on their end.
Mhm. Oh, very good.
Any questions or concerns? If anything comes to your attention, please know that we're there and we're available to help you and the citizens if they have questions on the process.
Sounds
we
good.
know where to find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you,
Thank
Shirley.
you.
And we also have Todd Kays from the First District Association of Local Governments to give us an annual update.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I gave you, provided you two handouts on the top box, one with the colored slides. I was on the way down this evening, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is the sixth time that I've had the opportunity to speak with the city of Madison about the First District. I've been with the district for 21 years in May, and in my sixth year as the director. And every year, I like to take the opportunity to meet with all of our county members and those larger Class A municipalities that we have in the district, to talk just a little about the district itself, some of the things we've been working on, and what we're looking at going on, working on in the future. And so, just a quick synopsis of who we are and some of the work activities, and I'm going to try to be very brief in my remarks. The First District is one of 6 regional planning and development districts located in the state. We have 6 sister organizations in Rapid City, Pierre, Aberdeen, Yankton, and Sioux Falls. We are a creature of state government. We were created in 1971 through executive action by then Governor Frank Farrar. So we are a unit of government, so to speak. We operate under a joint powers agreement with 11 counties and 75 communities here in northeastern South Dakota, starting up in Roberts, down to Moody, back up to Minor, and up to Clark. We have a governing body that provides oversight of our organization. They meet 4 to 5 times a year, where they discuss our work plan, they approve our budgets, they hire the executive director and me on an annual basis, and then I'm in charge of the staff and carrying out the work plan for the office. Each county has 3 representatives on our board. Roger Hageman is the county commissioner representative from Lake County. Mayor Roy is the municipal representative, and Gene Hexum, former Mayor Gene Hexum, is our at-large member on the board. And Gene also serves as the secretary on our executive team. We also have the chairman of the Flanders Santee Sioux and Siston Wapinan tribes are also members. How we're funded, we basically have three streams of income streams into our organization. The first is dues. All counties and municipalities with a population over 100 pay dues into our organization. It represents about 23% of our operating revenue. We use those dues to match other state and federal grants. We also do federal and state contract work for those two levels of government, which represents about 22-25% on an annual basis. And then 55% of our operating revenue jump comes in the form of fee-for-service work. And we're able to do that fee-for-service work for our membership at rates below the private sector just through the power of the collective. Being able to use dues in Brookings to help out a project in Carthage, for example. We have a very seasoned and experienced staff in the office. Almost 170 years of cumulative work experience. We have 8 individuals that work on the association side of our office, and we have 4 that work with the First District Development Company, a sister organization, which provides loans, and they're an SBA 504, a Small Business Administration Certified Development Company. As far as things that we do for our membership, we do a lot of applications, grant applications, loan applications for infrastructure projects, for community development projects, economic development projects. If those projects get funded, there's always the federal and state red tape that has to be cut through, and we assist in those endeavors. Planning and research, first 15 years that I worked at the district, I was principally a land use planner, a community development person. Working in planning and zoning, if it's got the word report or study or something on it, we've probably done one of those. And generally, if there's something that one of our members is looking at wanting to research, whether it be something to do with economics or social policy or land use or businesses, we usually have some expertise in those areas. We also have some specific areas that we work in. We've helped with tax return financing. We have 3 individuals full-time in our office that work in geographic information systems. Very much an integral part of who we are and what we do anymore for all of our membership. And then the RLF, revolving loan funds. The association has 2 specific revolving loan funds, and our development company has another portfolio of revolving loan funds that we use to partner with local lending institutions, taking a shared first or subordinated position on new and expanding businesses throughout the district. And then we're out there promoting the government, federal and state programs. Do a lot of things that have value, but it's always about generally the money, what kind of assistance we've been able to help our membership get, and as far as state and federal participation in infrastructure type projects. And really, it's not because we're there with the money bags, we're the conduit. We know generally where a lot of those funding sources are. We work with those communities and counties that reinvest into themselves, because that's what a lot of it is. If you're investing in making those investments into your community, sometimes it's just we help there as far as trying to find those pots of money that can help alleviate some of those costs. And last year, the dues that came into the organization was $230,000. We were able to assist our membership in obtaining a little over $7 million in federal and state funding for a dollar return of 25.59 for every dollar's worth of dues generated. Since 2000, it was $30.92 last year. It's $25.59 for the last 6 fiscal years. As far as Lake County goes, just briefly, you can see on the chart, the county and the municipalities together paid a little over $24,000 into our organization. We were able to assist in obtaining about $50,000 in grants into Lake County, which is about $2 for every dollar's worth of investment, $16.63 over the last, since 2008. When we take a look at Madison specifically, this last year, Madison paid $7,600 in dues into our organization. There was $35,000 worth of grant dollars that we were able to assist with. This in turn, $4.67 for every dollar worth of dues paid by the city of Madison last year. on the average, it's been about $23.54 for every dollar, just since 2008. We can go back 45 years, 43 years, and I'm just going back just from the time that I've been at the helm. I also handed out just a sheet of different types of activities. I'll let you review that at your leisure, but specifically it was in Madison. We finished up the administration of the community building block grant that was associated with the ICAP building across the street. We helped ICAP receive $290,000 back in 2010 and finally have all the paperwork and everything closed out on that project. We also, Ted Hayter in our office, worked with the hospital to do a community health needs assessment for the hospital. It's a federal requirement that they have to do through the CDC, and that project was finished up this last spring. Also, I believe Ted in our office worked with Chad on the Safe Routes to School grant application, and the city received $35,000 for that program, and that program is moving forward. We've continued to do a lot of we also do zoning administration and assistance. Chad calls us periodically and is asked for questions and clarifications, and we're always welcome to help with that. Our office received 2 district-wide grants last year. One has to do with economic development, and the other has to do with GIS training. And the Lake County share was about $7,000 for those grants. One of those grants provided GIS training. We have had some opportunities for county and city staff to come to our office to receive some GIS training. We also are in the process right now of conducting an environmental review for the Lake Area Improvement Corporation. We're going through the process of getting that certified ready, the sites for your industrial park. And so we're actually doing what's called a phase 1 environmental. It's one of the requirements to become certified ready under the state's program. And then we're also, last year we conducted an environmental review for ICAP on another one of their buildings here in the city. So basically, bottom line, what it comes down to is just have to ask. We're here to support you, to work with you. If we don't know how to do it, we might try to help you. Or if we really feel like you can go somewhere else to get that service, we'll help you find somebody that can do that service at an economical way for the city. So we appreciate the working relationship that we've had with the city over the years. And 43 this summer, and so we're looking forward to another good year. And again, if there's an infrastructure project, a planning project, Chad and I are on the phone already today talking about a thing that's going on with your pavement management system, and we might be able to help out providing data with that as well. So, any questions or comments?
We just have to remember to call.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I should just also mention, March, at the end of this month, we have our upcoming governing body on the 27th of March. We'll be sending out an invite, but we are going to be having something of a mini discussion on workforce development throughout the planning district. We're going to have representatives from the Department of Labor, Governor's Office, Economic Development, and several of economic development leaders, just to talk about how communities are addressing workforce development issues in the district. And I know in May or June, the governor will be having a full-out workforce summit, which will be held in Watertown. And we'll be getting the information out to you, but I will encourage you to take advantage of that, participate in those meetings. All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. Very informative.
Okay, next, we have acknowledged the application for temporary alcohol license and set a date of hearing for the Madison Fire Department. Randy, did you want to address that, or Jen, or both?
Go ahead.
Well, I guess we're asking the commission for their approval to have a fireman's dance again this year. I think it'll be our 41st annual fireman's dance. It's a great fundraiser for us. It's a lot of work, but ask the guys here a month or two ago if we were going to have it. Both came down to, we thought we'd try it again, so anyway.
Do you have a date in mind?
April 12th.
April 12th?
Yep.
You hoping it's going to be warm enough by then?
I hope so.
So,
So we'll ask you to acknowledge his application.
Okay.
And we'll set a date of hearing for 2 weeks
Okay.
from today.
I'll move to acknowledge the application of the fire department and set a date of hearing 2 weeks from today at 5:35.
5:35.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Who's your band?
What's that?
Who's your band?
Avenger Joe,
Avenger Joe.
From Aberdeen.
Good?
Very good,
supposed to be.
very good.
Country, rock, what?
Everything.
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 Yes.
I won't be able to vote from here on out, but.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Okay, number 4, acknowledge the January investment report, gross salaries, and bills for ratification.
I'll make a motion, do you have
Just a
comments?
quick note, yeah, just a quick comment. The January investment report does include all of the budget transfers from the 2014 budget, along with all of the transfers between cash and the designated reserves, all reflected in this report.
So it's all balanced out now from being transferred back and
It's
forth?
transferred, yes.
Okay.
Okay, then with that,
Thank you.
Okay.
I will acknowledge the January investment report, gross salaries and bills for ratification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You also have before you the 2013 annual report in that. And Jen, is there anything more that you want to add to this, or?
Please, briefly, okay?
Okay.
Pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 9/22/21, your finance officer is required, at least by the first meeting in March, to present to you the previous year's annual report. Okay, this is the first year that I completed all of the year-end entries, the adjusting entries, fixed asset depreciation schedules. I did have some assistance with that last year. Did that on my own this year with some incredible help and guidance and patience from my auditors. But bottom line is we threw this together, or pulled this together, at 5 o'clock this evening. Okay, so we've met our deadline, and what I'm going to do is simply go through just a few things with you here.
Okay.
And I will ask that you acknowledge this report, because it is complete and has been received and is complete. And then I'll bring it back to you next week and in the coming weeks with just some greater detail.
Great.
Okay, so take a look with me if you would, please. Page 1, governmental funds. Page 1 is the revenue for all of your governmental funds. First column there is your general fund. You'll see the property taxes, 1.5 million. Line below there is your sales and use tax, 1.4 million. If you move over a couple columns, your third cent fund, your sales and use tax there. Your third cent, if you'll remember, is your lodging and entertainment tax money. That came in at about 172,000. Move on over another couple columns. Your second cent fund is also the same dollar amount as we just saw in the general fund. Remembering that the 2 cent tax that the city receives, 1 cent goes to the general fund, the other cent goes to the second cent fund. Both 1.4 million received this past year. Swimming pool debt service, total received with property taxes is $351,000. And that is used to pay off our debt service for the swimming pool. Okay? Bottom line revenue, last column there, bottom right hand is 6.98 million in revenue. Okay, page 2 are your expenditures. Because this is governmental funds, you're gonna see most of your expenditures there in the general fund column. Breaks it down, fire, police, finance, highways and streets, airport, libraries, for total expenditures. Do note your swimming pool debt service fund, we just looked at the revenue brought in of $351,000. Our debt service payment there was $333,000. So brought in enough property taxes to considerably make that debt service payment. You'll see the transfers in and out, and then the bottom categories there, the ending balance, the non-spendable restricted. That is your GASB breakdown of all of our fund balance dollars. And we will go into greater detail on that in coming weeks. Okay, page 3 contains both of your revenue and your expenditures for your proprietary funds, which again are your funds supported by user fees, water, sewer, electric, community center, solid waste recycling. Revenues and expenditures are broken down. Again, the GASB breakdown of the remaining fund balances. And the bottom line there is your long-term debt. Still have long-term debt right now at about $13 million just within those proprietary funds. Okay, way at the bottom there then are depositories, every single bank, and what do we have in each depository at the end of December 2013. So again, just a real quick recap there of your general funds and your proprietary funds. This is the document that we are required to publish. This will go in the paper. And again, we will bring back additional pieces of the report to you in coming weeks. Questions at this time? These will eventually all be posted on the website. We will do the book format this year again with the reports from the different departments. You'll see that in the next coming months.
It's a good little breakdown.
Mhm. Okay,
You
very
just need a
good.
motion to acknowledge.
To acknowledge tonight, please, yes.
I would make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the 2013 annual report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to acknowledge. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, new business, bid number 820, review and award bid to the generation plant equipment upgrades. Chad, did you want to address this?
Sure, I can make a few comments about this.
Okay.
Dennis had some other obligations, but the bids were open for this on February 26th at 1:30 last week, and there was 2 bidders. This is for the work to install the materials that were bid previously for the environmental upgrades, if you will, to the gen plant to make them compliant with some of the new EPA standards. The low bidder was Otter Creek Mechanical out of Waterbury, Nebraska, at $149,965.64. There's a recommendation from DGR in the agenda packet. Their estimate was about $150,000, and the project is within budget. And
Did they share their estimate with Waterbury?
I always try to ask them before that we open the bids, but I didn't this time, so. No, they had anticipated that. They'd worked with these folks on other projects and had, as they mentioned in their letter here, have had very good working with them, so.
So we just need a motion to approve?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would make a motion to award bid number 820 for the generation plant and equipment upgrades to Otter Creek Mechanical, Inc. of Waterbury, Nebraska, in the amount of $149,965.64.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bid number 823, approve specifications and set a bid date for the water main improvement project, 2014-2. Fred or Chad?
Yeah, I can talk about this, Your Honor.
Okay.
A project to upgrade some water mains, primarily on Fifth Street from Prairie to Division Avenue, and then in Egan Avenue, on the south of Egan Avenue, around 8th Street. There's some water main there that have, Public Works Department, we coordinate with them, and they've had that on their problem list for quite some time, so a water main project, much like the one we had last year, just water mains, try to keep it limited in the amount of disturbance of the street surface and or the boulevard. So we're not addressing any street issues or sanitary sewer issues with this. It's pretty much just trying to get those new water mains in there.
Is this of the size that you would expect a local contractor to bid on it again, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, they would sure be able to bid on this one. It's they're challenging, you know, because water mains aren't as impacting of the street as a full reconstruction or even a water and sanitary sewer. And so we try to maintain traffic as best we can for the local residents. And it's a fine line of allowing the contractor sufficient space to work and time, and also maintaining access for people as well. And so,
Do you have a bid date?
yeah, that is in the packet. It would be the 26th day of March at 10 a.m. is when I would recommend that the bid opening be set.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'll move the approval of specifications on bid number 823 for the water main improvement project for 2014-2, and set the bid date for March 26th at 10 a.m.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bid number 824, approve specifications and set the bid date for transformers, cable, and pad mount switches. And not seeing Dennis, you want to address that one?
Yes, I can. Also coordinated with Dennis on this project. It's for the planned phased distribution system upgrades. Phase 1B, we refer to this as, that was identified in the 10-year long-range plan. Almost a identical type of project as was accomplished last year in similar geographic area. When the completion of Phase 1, we should have that whole geographic area complete, but we had to take it in smaller pieces to, for funding purposes, among other things, so. This is just the material. We'll take these and receive these bids, and we'll continue working with DGR to put together the staking sheets. They're referred to as the plan sheets, where the contractor, the installing contractor, bids those subsequently. So,
And do we have a date?
March 19th at
March
2
19th.
p.m.
That's enough time, isn't it?
It is.
Right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve specifications and set the bid date for bid number 824, transformers, cable, and pad mount switches for March 19th at 2 p.m.
Second.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You also have attached bills for approval. Any questions or comments?
I'll move to approve the bills.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And for bills for ratification.
I'd make a motion to ratify the bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You also have attached some personnel adjustments. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve personnel as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and now seeing no other new business, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are in executive.